Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Improve Cash Flow, Streamline Your Processes, and Reduce Bad Debt. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to join us. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please either raise your hand so that we can unmute your line or submit them through the GoToWebinar question box. We'll be taking questions throughout and answering at the end of the presentation today. As a reminder, this month's promotion communication was all about how you can free up more hours in your work week. We included some add-on applications that we've found help our GP clients achieve these results. You can visit the URL seen here for more information on those applications and their associated promotions. Today we've invited Professional Advantage to join us. They'll be shedding more light on how you can reduce the time spent collecting from your customers. So at this point, I'd like to transition over to Matt Green, who is on the business development team at Professional Advantage.
Thank you much, Cheryl. Appreciate Socius organizing everything and having us today. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's presentation of collections management for Microsoft Dynamics GP. We'll get underway here shortly with the demonstration. Just a few slides to go through before we get into that. As Cheryl mentioned, if you do have any questions during today's presentation, please feel free to submit those to that questions portal on the GoToWebinar. We will, if we have time, have an open QA session at the end as well. If you do have questions that aren't addressed today, I'll be giving out my contact details, so feel free to email me or give us a call. So let's get started. Collections management, just I want to touch on a brief history of the product. Currently today there's over 5,000 active customers using collections management in Dynamics GP. The product was originally developed by Professional Advantage. A couple years after the initial development, Microsoft purchased the product from us. They shipped it as a core feature in Microsoft Dynamics GP for 12 years. After a great, successful 12-year relationship with Microsoft, they returned collections management back in 2013, which we're very excited to have the product back. We've done a ton of development and added several new features since then. We're happy to get out new features and take product suggestions from our customers and deliver those probably much quicker than Microsoft could. So very excited again to have the product back with Professional Advantage. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with collections management, I do want to highlight some of the gaps, some of the pain points that there are with Dynamics GP, and really highlight what can collections management do for you. So first and foremost, there's a lot of decentralized information in GP or in accounts receivable. So there's not really any central location to house notes, and you know, collection takes time. So going into those different fields in AR can be time consuming. So with collections management, we've put all that data in one spot. First off, collections main window. So that's the first window we'll see in the demonstration. Collections main is really the command center of the tool. It's great for ad hoc inquiry. It's used for taking notes, setting up follow-ups, setting up actions on invoices such as promises to pay from your customers, or perhaps you're disputing invoices. You can also access your task window. So there's a collections management task window that is assigned to each collector or credit manager inside the system. Second feature there, collection notes, which have historically been the hub of collections management. They allow you to create actions, keep history and notes on your customer invoices. So notes, as you'll see in the demonstration, can also act as reminders or follow-up tasks to yourself internally. Second major pain point or gap in the GP functionality out there, or perhaps something that you're not doing with your collecting process today. So first off, you may have some inconsistent follow-up or inconsistent collection methods with your customers. A lot of times companies out there are doing their collecting whenever they have time. It's not done on a daily or consistent basis. And then second piece of that, a lot of it may be manual communication. You're developing those emails by hand. You're going out and you're gathering the pertinent invoices to attach to those emails, and maybe scrolling through an age trial balance, printing that off, reviewing notes you have written down on that age trial balance, or printed off or on a post-it. So collections management has what we call collection plans. So collection plans really aim to automate the process for you so you can spend less time searching for your customers and creating those emails by hand and attaching those invoices manually. The collection plans are aimed to do that for you. So in short, we'll go through this in the demonstration, but in short here, the plans are really system generated actions that can be processed based on a due date of a customer's invoice. So you can choose from a predefined list of plans. There'll be collection plans out of the box you can start using right away. You can certainly define your own plans from scratch, listing those out step by step, customizing those to your different customer types. Now, steps in the plan can be processed one at a time, or you can group similar customers or similar activities together and process those in bulk. So the plan will suggest an action to happen for the customer, be sent to a queue. You can quickly review that queue, process all the actions that are ready to go, or you can certainly evaluate customers on an individual basis. So we'll take a look at that processing queue as well. Last point here, really collections management is aimed to reduce your bad debt and improve your cash flow. So with that, also today in the demonstration, we'll look at a number of performance reports. We have an accounts receivable summary window. We have a couple of smart lists built for collections. If you like generating the smart list, maybe exporting the data to Excel, further manipulating it from there, and reporting on that. We also have some newer SSRS reports and individual collector performance reports. And then last portion here, the DSO calculator. So tracking your days sales outstanding over time and really measuring your return on investment for a tool like collections management. So with that said, really to outline how you can measure your ROI with a tool like collections, that can be used, or that can be done by tracking days sales outstanding. So if you're not tracking DSO today, there is, as I mentioned previously, a DSO calculator inside the product. For those of you maybe not in accounting, DSO really indicates how much you're selling and how fast you're getting paid. And it can really indicate how efficient your collection processes are working. So perhaps you start with a number of collection plans, you get your customers going on the automation, and your DSO is not following. You can tweak those plans and adjust your collection processes to really see if that's going to decrease your DSO over time. So the example here at the bottom, kind of highlights an example of ROI. Let's say today your company is a $36 million company. You're collecting $36 million a year. That's $3 million a month, or roughly $100,000 you're collecting a day. You implement a tool. You implement collections management. And just through that first year, you decrease DSO from 45 to 40 days. So you're decreasing that just by 5 days throughout that entire first year. That result alone gives you another $500,000 in your bank, which essentially pays for the product many times over. But just to kind of highlight your ROI on collections management. So with that said, let's get into the product and take a look at the demonstration and what the heck I'm talking about. And for the demo today, I do have a number of shortcuts set up for the flow of the demonstration, so we get through everything on time. I do want to point out, though, all of the windows, all of the functionality inside collections is resides here in the sales area of GP. So in logical order, you're doing your sales transaction entries, you're creating those invoices, you're doing the invoice entry, gathering cash receipts, applying those payments, all the way down to where perhaps you'll need to do some collecting. So we have our main window, some queries we can build here, a number of transactional windows here under cards. We have a number of collection setup windows, inquiry windows down here, etc. So go back to my home page. Now the first window we'll take a look at is the Collections Management main window. So Collections main, you'll hear me refer to it as, let's pull on a customer so we can get some data. So I've pulled on Aaron Fitz Electrical here. So you'll notice the customer name. We can sort through the different address IDs. If you're collecting from multiple locations from one specific customer, you can scroll through the address IDs you have set up in GP, if they have different contact people, different phone numbers, etc. So it's going to display the contact person for that customer and that specific address ID, the phone and fax number. We can also see the last time this customer made a payment, how much that payment was for, their payment terms here, net 30 in this example, and then their year-to-date sales. So that kind of gives you an idea how large of a customer you're trying to collect from. Now, underneath those fields, we have links for unposted sales, unposted cash, and unposted orders. Now, I'm going to click on these. These are actually Zoom links that will go to some core GP windows. So this one, the unposted sales I just clicked on, will pull open in a SOP document inquiry window. This is core to GP, and also a receivables transaction inquiry window. So those are important. First off, unposted sales and unposted orders may be important to your collection process in that, let's say we're inquiring on Aaron Fitz Electrical. We come into the window, we see there's a large amount of money that they owe us currently, and we take a look at their unposted sales and or unposted orders, and maybe there's a product we haven't shipped to them yet, or a service we haven't carried out. We can look at putting a hold on some of those things until the customer starts making some of their payments. Now, unposted cash may also be equally important to look at. So let's say again we're in here, we're inquiring on Aaron Fitz Electrical. Again, there's a large amount of money that's outstanding, a large amount of money that they owe us. But there's a large amount of unposted cash. Now, unposted cash would be cash you have from the customer that just hasn't been applied to a specific invoice in GP. So we have cash from the customer, which perhaps would be good to look at before we make our collection call. So, before we start screaming at the customer, hey, where's my money? We can look at that unposted cash to help us avoid, perhaps an awkward conversation. Underneath those fields, we have a credit manager field. Now, this is the GP user who's perhaps managing the customer, in charge of collecting from Aaron Fitz Electrical. So this is just the GP user ID. I'm logged in as the system administrator, so it's showing SA as the credit manager here. Anybody who has a GP user license or access to GP can be set up with access to collections and assigned as a credit manager accordingly. So if you have multiple people inside your organization that are doing the collections, you can have different credit managers managing different or collecting from different customer types. Bottom portion of this window are our collection notes, and I'll get into these here in just a minute. Moving to the right side of the window, our aging is displayed. Now, this aging is pulling from accounts receivable. So the last time you ran your aging routine, or however you have these aging periods set up in GP, this will be directly pulled on to the collections main window. So I can certainly open up and display a certain aging bucket or aging period. Notice there's only one invoice here. It looks like here in that 151 to 180 day period. I can zoom in. It'll pull up in a transaction inquiry window for you. Beneath our aging, we can see the total amount the customer owes us, or the total amount due, their credit limit, the customer salesperson from GP, territory ID, these are pretty standard GP fields brought onto the window. Parent ID, if you are using a feature in Great Plains called National Accounts, National Accounts, for those who are unfamiliar, it just allows you to establish parent-child relationships and apply payments across those national accounts. If you are using national accounts in GP, collections will function or will cooperate with that functionality. So if this was a child customer I was inquiring on, it would display the parent ID. It looks like Aaron Fitz happens to be a parent customer of a national account. So if we're looking to display information, there is an option to display national account information. So right now I'm just looking at the single customer account. And this is what you would look at if you're not using national accounts. So disregard what I'm going to show you next if you're not using national accounts. But if you are, we can also choose to display this as a group national account. Now you see if I select that, there's several notes. Our amounts have updated here. Now this is displaying the customer as the group national account. So any child payments or notes that we've taken here will also be displayed on the window. So you can choose whether to display this as the single customer account or as the group national account. So below that parent ID field, we have collection plan ID. This is the specific collection plan this customer is assigned to. We'll take a look at a few examples of the plans a little bit later on in the demonstration. Total amount outstanding, so this is the sum of their total due, what's been invoiced, as well as the unposted sales and unposted orders. So this is the total amount outstanding for this customer. So those are kind of the main fields here in the main window. I'll go through a number of the functions here at the top. But first, let me show and demonstrate the collection notes. So there's a new note button. This will open up a blank note. Let's actually pull up an existing note, selecting one here from the bottom. So we have some details. So the notes are pretty straightforward. They allow you to track communication between yourself and the customer on one particular invoice or perhaps a group of invoices. So let's take a look at this example. Notes, of course, will be date and time stamped when they were created. Caller ID, this is the GP user who created the note. Address, contact person for the customer. And we can assign different priority levels to different notes if we choose. Note text here at the bottom, this is just open text field. You can copy paste an email conversation, you can take a specific note. You can see in this case we spoke with Bob Fitz and he's telling us they're going to send payment by early next week for a couple of invoices. Now in the next steps we'll select the documents that note needs to be attached to. Once we select those, you can see here populate the details of those invoices in the body of the note. I'll show you that here in just a few seconds. And so the next course of action is assigning a specific action to your note. And the actions, open up the list here. Actions are all configurable. Now an action can be something that you need to take to your customer or that the customer is telling you they're going to do. You can see some of these are very straightforward. Here's an action probably several people have heard on a weekly basis. Your customer's telling you, hey, the check's in the mail for that invoice. So if we need to assign that action, here's an action. Maybe you've sent them to a collections agency or you're disputing an invoice. Now you can see these actions, again, these are all configurable. You can design these to make sense for your business or your collection methods. And you can assign each action to essentially 3 categories. There's a promise to pay, so the customer's made some kind of notion that payment is being submitted, so they're promising to pay you or that invoice. Second category here is a special circumstance. So this is anything that's maybe deemed outside your normal day-to-day collection activities. So if we sent them to a collection agency, hopefully that's not happening too often. That's something that's abnormal or a special circumstance. Third category here is a dispute. So, in plain sense, you're disputing the invoice. You're still trying to collect the payment. You're going back and forth with the customer. Now, those are the three main categories, and I'll show you why these are important here in just a second for reporting purposes or inquiry purposes. If you don't want to assign a specific action type to the actions you're creating, they can just fall under the none categories. They're not categorized. So again, some examples of our actions. Now in this case, again, we're speaking with the customer and they're telling us they're going to make payments. So the action we've selected, PTP, promise to pay. Action type here is the same thing. Action date. Now this allows you to use the note as a follow-up task. So we can assign a specific action date. Now if the payment doesn't come to us by this date, we have a follow-up task that's telling us, hey, this note is still open. We haven't received that payment, so we'll go ahead and follow up the customer again accordingly. If we're taking a note for a customer that isn't somebody we typically collect from, it's somebody else inside your organization that usually manages their credit, we can assign this note to a different user or a different collector. The next thing we'll do is select the documents the note pertains to. So the expansion arrow here opens up the OpenAR document list for that customer. You simply select which ones the note pertains to. So one specific note can be assigned to one invoice or multiple invoices. So it looks like we selected two here. And again, after you select those documents, it puts those here in plain text so you can quickly see that when you're reviewing the note. Action amount, this will default to the total amount of the invoice or invoices you've selected. But keep in mind we can change the action amount here. So let's say you're on the phone with Bob Fitz and he's telling you they're going to make a partial payment. So he's telling you, let's say, Matt, I'll get you $2,000 by next week. We can change our action amount to $2,000. So when that $2,000 partial payment comes across, we can mark this note complete and then follow up on the remaining amount with a different note. So you can change that action amount. And then the status, this is pretty self-explanatory. This note is still open. Obviously, we haven't received payment thus far. Once payment comes across, we can mark this as complete. If for any reason we need to cancel a note or it was canceled by one of our collection plans, there's a status reason for that as well. Now, there's a revision history. So this will track sort of the history. This one hasn't been revised. We just have the original note. But if we come in here in a couple days and we need to update something, maybe they're telling us, okay, now we're going to pay 3 invoices, or perhaps they've cut it back down to 1 invoice. We can update our note text or any of the fields here on the note, and it will keep a revision of what the original note said and any changes along the way. So you have that history for you. Okay, I mentioned the action categories, so the action types. Now I do want to show you a transaction zoom. So our total amount here on the main window, if I click this, pulls open again that transaction inquiry window. Now there's some great visual cues we can quickly see here. You'll notice this little information icon that lets you know that particular invoice has a note attached to it. I can open that up. Here's that note we were just looking at. There's also some letters next to these. First off, a P is going to denote it's in that promise payment category. So here's a promise to pay note. Here's the total amount this customer is currently telling us they're going to make payment for. So this is the current amount being promised for payment. Now the cool thing with the promised payments is that if the action date goes past on that note, it automatically changes those into a B, which will denote a broken promise. So you can quickly see which payments weren't being made on time, and we can follow up with those accordingly. So promise to pay, broken promise. A D is going to let us know that invoice is in dispute. Here again at the bottom, here's the total amount the customer is disputing. And then the S, goes without saying here, the S is a special circumstance. It's the special category. The remaining amount that isn't categorized or isn't noted is falling here under none. So we can quickly see that. Of course, we can pull that into our smart list. Okay, so that's the basic functionality of the main window and in the fields here that we can see. I do want to point out that we can develop customer queries. So there's two options. There's a standard query or there's an advanced query. A standard query is going to let us put a number of restrictions so we can really develop a specific list of customers that we can reach out to, we can bulk process, maybe a collection letter or an email to, or maybe you want to schedule a phone call for a specific customer group. So we can put restrictions on who the credit manager is, how much they owe your company, the different aging periods or notes or actions they've promised. So to give you a quick example here, it's a simple query I've developed. It's going to show me customers who have made promises to pay but are now more than 90 days past due on that payment. So you can see my restrictions here at the bottom. I'm looking for open notes, which means we haven't received payment. The aging is essentially anything more than 90 days overdue, and the balance is in between these two amounts, so essentially anyone with a balance. So I've developed my query. I'll go ahead and run that. It's going to tell me, yes, I've already developed this query. Go ahead and refresh it. So when it runs your query, here's a little summary. It searched 104 customer records, actually found 11 customers that meet my restrictions. Total balance of those customers is this amount. Their overdue balance here is this amount. So I'm going to click OK. It'll bring you back to the main window and it saves that query so we can use it for other things. Like I mentioned, we can bulk process actions to those customers on that query. So I'll show you other things we can use those queries for. But you'll notice here in my main window, my view has changed from looking at all of our customers to just the customers on that query. So if I hit my lookup, here are the 11 customers that are meeting my filters or meeting my restrictions. And I can inquire on those or follow up accordingly. Now, a newer feature that just debuted a few months ago is the concept of an advanced query. So if you want to develop a specific SQL query, you do have to be somewhat SQL savvy to develop these. But essentially, sky's the limit. Inside of SQL on queries you can develop here. So that is a relatively new feature, and that's available in our latest builds of collections. Okay. Also from our main window, we can access our collection task window. Now the task window is going to be specific. When I open it up, it's going to be specific to my collector ID. So you can see here's my to-do list for the day, everything relating to collections. You can see the majority of my tasks are phone calls that need to be made. These are being scheduled by my collection plans, and I'll show you how that works once we go through the plans. But one thing I'll point out here, if we don't have a specific ID selected, I hit redisplay, it's going to show me. That didn't do any good. I don't think in my demo environment here I have any other tasks assigned to any of the users, but this would essentially allow you to see any tasks in the system regardless of who they're assigned to. So if you have collectors out on vacation, you can still run through the tasks and making sure your customers are being followed up with. I can sort my list obviously by the action date. It'll default to the order in that they're due, or sort by an action ID. So from here, we can open up the note, which again is the follow-up task. I can see which customer needs to be inquired on. This one's being scheduled by my collection plan. If I want to, I can highlight, let's pick a different customer here. I can highlight that specific task. I can click collections main. Brings me back to the main window. I can do a quick inquiry, maybe perhaps look at the other things that they have to do, and then make my phone call from here. Once I've made that call or completed that task, I can hit complete. It will then take it off my task list since I'm just showing open tasks. So if I want to review my open and completed lists, I can certainly display that here as well. Back to the main window. The last sort of feature I'll demo from the main window is sending an email. So if we want to send a one-off email, let's bring Aaron Fitz back here on my display. So let's say I'm on the phone with Bob Fitz and he's requesting that I send him their invoices that we were discussing, or the invoices that were passed through. I can quickly send the customer a one-off email right from this window. So this will pull up in a collections management email window. From here, I can select who it's going to. If your customers are set up with email addresses on their customer maintenance card, it will automatically pull on what's displayed there. So I'm going to go ahead and add Bob Fitz, who it's going to. If I need to copy or blind copy anybody, I can certainly do that. Now, our product collections management also has a concept of developing collection letters. And letters are really just message templates. You can print out the letters and send them through the mail, or you can use the letters as email templates. So these are all configurable. I'm going to go ahead and just use a template just to show you an example here. That'll pull on the template here at the body of my email. I can certainly edit that before it goes out. I know it's going to Bob. And in this particular template, you can see the mail merge field here allows me to select documents that will display here on the body of our email. So the nice thing with the email functionality, this one-off email functionality, is you have the open AR document list at the bottom. I'll simply select which ones we want to attach to the email. Redisplay. Now I'll do two things for you in this case. It will, as I said, display the information in the body of the email, but it's also going to print those and attach those as PDF documents, so sending them as attachments as well. So I have what I want to say to the customer. I have the invoices that I want to send them. If I have any outside or additional attachments outside of GP, like a credit card authorization form or payment terms or something like that, you can certainly attach that as well, and then go ahead and send that one-off email. Okay, let's take a look at our collection plans. Now, the easiest way to grasp the concept of the plan is really to look at the setup window. I mentioned I have a number of examples of plans. So what you're looking at here, again, is the setup window. This is our good customer plan. You have more relaxed steps. Maybe this is something that you assign to your premium accounts or your good customers. Next example here is a high-risk plan. So this maybe gets assigned to your previous late payers or your delinquent accounts. And then the last example here is just a standard regular collection plan. Maybe this is your default plan that gets assigned to all the new customers or just everybody else who isn't considered a good customer or a high-risk customer. So the steps in the plan are pretty straightforward. These will be executed based on the due date of their oldest outstanding invoice. So you can configure when these are processed. You can see the first step in this plan happens actually 7 days before. So it's a negative number. It happens before the due date. We have an action. Our first action is called Soon Due, which we've configured. So let's take a look at what that is. This action happens to be a letter that the customer gets. So let's look at that letter. And again, the letters are all configurable. So you choose what you want to say. And you can actually, there's two options for creating letters. We can use Microsoft Word document templates. So you get all the great formatting features of Microsoft Word, email signatures, pictures, so on and so forth. Or you can use the standard letter writing capabilities, the standard letter maintenance window, which is somewhat format limiting, but you can use the mail merge fields like you could with the Word documents. This one happens to be just written with the standard maintenance in the standard GP maintenance window here. So this letter, again, going out 7 days before that invoice is due. Again, if we haven't received payment, and it's just a note to let them know they have invoices with us that will soon be considered overdue. Here in the body, we list out the outstanding invoices, so it looks like all invoices and their details. You can see here the invoices to attach to this email include all invoices not overdue. So there's lots of different groupings here we can configure when developing our letters of which invoices we're attaching. You know, all promised invoices, maybe just all the overdue invoices. Lots of different grouping options for you to configure as well. Also, when you're emailing copies of these letters, you can choose to copy that customer's salesperson in GP. So we're not copying them in this case, but you can copy or blind copy the salesperson if need be as well. Now, if you want to make this sound a little bit more personal, the mail merge functions again, let's put in maybe some customer info, maybe their contact name here. Sounds a little bit more personal as we start off with our collection plan. So again, you develop the customers, use the verbiage you want to say and the invoices you want to attach. This is just an example. Let's go back to our plan. It's going to simply take them through the steps in the plan as long as that invoice has not been paid. So it looks like 5 days overdue, we're sending the customer a reminder. 14 days overdue, they still haven't made payment, we're scheduling a phone call. Now the phone call gets scheduled to that collection task list for the credit manager. So we have a phone call here being scheduled at 14 days past due. 30 and 45 days, we get a couple of letters going to the customer, a few more phone calls after that, looks like a third letter, and then a final action. So once we get down to the final action, you know, this could be a number of things. Perhaps it's a reminder to yourself internally that, okay, customer so-and-so has now reached 90 days past due on an invoice. We need to send that to a legal department or to a collection agency. Or maybe it's just a letter that the customer gets that's telling them their account's being put on hold or their account's delinquent, whatever that final action may be. Now, two other configuration options before I go to the next window. First of all, if you reach the last step in a collection plan, there's two options. You can have the plan keep repeating that last step, so perhaps the customer gets an email every 30 days for the lifetime of that outstanding invoice. Or you can just simply have the plan quit suggesting next steps, in which case you can determine manually what you want to do with that customer, where you want to go. And then the other configuration worth noting here is a minimum amount due. So it kind of sets a floor. So this happens to be a $20 minimum. If the invoice doesn't meet or exceed this amount, it's not going to take them through the steps in the plan. So a good example here is, let's say you have a customer assigned to your standard collection plan, happens to be a customer you're doing millions of dollars of business with every year. We've set the floor at $20, so if for some weird reason they had a $5 invoice go past due, we're not going to send them these steps. We're not going to take them through a number of threatening actions, so to speak, unless the invoice meets the minimum. So you can configure where that floor starts as well. Now, the one thing to keep in mind with our collection plans is these actions are not going out automatically without any means for you to review what's going out or perhaps skip over a step or modify a step in a customer's plan. What happens is when they're ready to be executed, each step in a customer's plan is sent to a processing queue, which is our next window. This is the Collections Management Plan processing window. So what you're looking at here is this is all of my customers that are assigned to a collection plan that are ready to get a next action. And we can sort this list in a number of different ways. And I mentioned, you can bulk process. You can process all customers at one time. You can go through and evaluate customers individually. So just show you a number of sort options here. We can look at all of our customers with a balance, even though they might not yet be overdue. Right now I'm just looking at my overdue customers. I can sort by collector, so if I just want to review the customers I'm in charge of collecting from, I can do that. I can use one of those queries I've developed and sort customers in that sense. So there's a lot of different options there. Or perhaps I just want to look at customers that have reached the end of their plan and determine what I want to do with those guys. I can search my queue by customer name. I can sort by the specific plan that they're assigned to, the last action that that customer received, or the next action they're scheduled to get. So let's just pick here, let's look at the customers that are scheduled to get their first letter. I know that's a pretty safe, subtle action. I don't need to go through and make sure these guys are all okay. I can just go ahead and process all those customers at one time, goes through and executes that. Now, if I'm reviewing my queue before processing any actions, I can come in here. Let's say maybe I notice, let's take this customer, Associated Insurance Company. Those guys stick out to me because I just spoke with them on the phone yesterday. So I can select that customer here. It will show me the documents that are going to be carried out in the step in that plan. So these are the invoices that we're trying to collect on. And at the bottom here, you'll notice, they're set to get, it looks like their first collection letter. I can modify that letter before it goes out, say, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Dimitri, I know we just spoke on the phone yesterday, but I do want to make sure that you get the invoices that are past due, and then go ahead and just process that customer one off. Now, if I decide, hey, these guys don't need to get this step because I did just speak with them on the phone, I can go ahead and either delete that row or select a customer here, edit, delete the row. It takes them out of my queue for the time being. Now, if I exit the plan processing window and re-enter this and repopulate my list, they will show up here again because hasn't been executed. It's just being skipped over for the time being. Really, the overall end goal of the plans is for you to be able to come in here in the morning, review everybody who's ready to get their next step, and then process all customers. So if I hit that window, it's going to give me a brief summary of what's going to be executed. So you can see here, customers on my good customer plan. The system is going to generate and send, it looks like 4 emails of my final letter, 1 first letter, a couple second letters, schedule a few phone calls. The system will warn you if a customer is not set up with an email address in GP. So in those cases, we have down here when sending letters, just to email those only customers with email addresses in GP, or perhaps a better option is to email the customers with email addresses, and then print what doesn't get emailed, the letters and the invoices, in which case you can fax those to the customer or send them through the mail, however you're contacting those customers. But if you see that quickly here, if these customers aren't set up with email addresses, I can exit out of this, quickly go enter that email address or the person that needs to be getting these letters, and then come back and execute the actions. So I hit OK. It's going to process all of these actions for me. It's going to send the emails, schedule the phone calls. So all you really need to worry about after that is going back to your task window and making your collection calls that were assigned. So I see we have a few minutes left. I do want to show you a couple of the summary windows, and then we'll open it up for some questions. First off, let's take a look at these, the Collections Management Receivable Summary Information window. So this allows a manager, or really anybody in collections or in GP, to sort of review your AR information. Now I can review by credit manager if I want to inquire on a specific collector and kind of how they're doing, or if I leave this blank, I hit calculate, it's just going to generate for the entire system. So the top third, or this top portion here, is just showing me standard accounts receivable summary information. The middle portion is relating to your notes or your collecting. So I can see how many disputed notes, how much is being disputed at this point in time. Promised notes, so it looks like just over 26 grand is being promised for payment by our customers. We have our special notes. We have the notes that have been categorized. Really, the two very important fields here on this window. First off, notes past their contact date. So it's telling me I have 23 notes in GP that are now past the contact date, and they're still open. So we need to be following up again on why these haven't been paid in time or followed up with again. And perhaps the most important field here, which actually looks pretty bad with my demo data, but my overdue documents not on a note. So it's telling me I have 329 or roughly just under 2 million in receivables that's past due that we don't have a note for. Essentially, we don't know why that hasn't been paid. So from here, I can review the list. I can assign these to the appropriate credit managers for follow-up, or go ahead and use this as my list and create new notes from here. In a perfect world, we wouldn't want to have really any overdue documents that aren't noted for, just keeping a good log or a good idea of why these invoices aren't being paid on time. Bottom portion of the window here is just your standard receivables aging, so you can see where your money's at. Also, I did mention the DSO calculator. So DSO, you can pick the period that you want to calculate DSO for. Go ahead and hit calculate. You notice, it'll calculate the sales, the average sales per day, and then the sales outstanding, which gives you your DSO. So keep in mind, my demo data is not showing a very good DSO here. I think if you're invoicing on net 30 terms, a reasonably good DSO is typically under 40 days. But we can add this calculation to a log so you can really track your DSO over time, and whether that's going down or going up, and then adjust your collection practices or your collection plans accordingly. So that's a lot of the core features of collections management. I do want to leave some time for any questions, so revert back to the PowerPoint, and I'll turn it back over to you, Cheryl.
Okay, great. Yeah, and just to remind everyone to submit your questions, you can either raise your hand and we'll unmute your line, or you can type it into the GoToWebinar question box, and I can field those questions over to Matt. And the screen we're showing right now, there's a couple of promotions and upcoming events we'd like to highlight. Microsoft is having their GP Extended Pack offering for $5,000 through June 27th, and a couple of events. Our next GP monthly user webinar will be on May 21st, covering the fixed assets module, and we're co-hosting a Office 365 webinar on June 4th, where we're taking a look at the impact of the age the cloud is having on our work environments. And let me check here to see if any questions are coming through. If you want to change it over to the next slide there, Matt, for your contact information for everyone on the call.
Definitely, yeah. And if there are any questions after today that aren't submitted, feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to set up one-on-one demonstrations, answer any questions, provide more details as well. So don't hesitate to reach out to myself. And there are a lot of great videos on our website too, profad.com. There'll be a collections management product page. Some of the things we didn't get to see today, like the SSRS, the reporting, and things like that, there's great short demonstration videos out there, so get out there and check those out as well.
Looks like we do have a question here. Just pull up my window. Okay, asking about PowerPoint or slideshow of today's webinar. A couple of hours after the presentation, you'll receive an automatic email with a recording from today's webinar, and we can also make sure that this slide deck is sent out to everyone on the call today.
Yeah. Well, and I know that Drake doesn't.
I know, Cheryl, one question that we do get asked quite often is, if you're not reprinting invoice, or you're not invoicing out of GP, out of the invoicing module or sales order processing, can I still attach invoices to my collection emails? And the answer is yes. Where historically you haven't been able to do that, but with the new functionality we've built, you can set up collections to be pointed at a shared folder, so a folder on your directory where your invoices can be saved to. So if you're at that third-party invoicing system that you may be using, can save a PDF version of that invoice to that shared folder. Again, collections management can be pointed to that folder so you can pull those invoices when you want to send them as attachments to your customers. Any other questions?
Yes, we do have one here. Is the collections management currently in GP and ready to use?
If you do own a license, it should be in. So the product is built inside GP. It's not on a third-party interface or anything like that. It's built in the same source code as GP. If you own a license, it should be in GP already for you. You'll want to make sure you're on the latest version if you do own that license. But if you don't own collections already, or you're not sure, feel free to reach out to. But you should be able to see that inside GP if you do in fact own the license to it. Hopefully that answered that question.
It looks like that's all the questions we have for now. Matt and I will stay on the line for a couple more questions or a couple more minutes in case anyone does have additional questions. But for you, those of you that have got all your questions answered, thanks for joining us today. And again, Matt's information is there on the screen if you need it.
Yeah, thanks again to Associates for organizing everything and everybody who's joined today. Supported versions of collections for GP 2015 and GP 2013. If you are on an older version, we can still issue the code for that, but there is no longer any enhancements or new features going into the older version.